Levi, and today we have a special episode where we're going to be going over all of the crazy announced running shoes coming out for 2022. We got a whole list of 10, 12, 13 shoes from a lot of different companies, and it's super exciting to see the new technology and the advancements that's coming out. So happy holidays to everyone around the world. This is not the Christmas episode. For Christmas, I am going to be coming out with the best wide foot basketball shoes. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting and asking for that, so I promise you I'll have that ready for Christmas Day. With that all said, let's get right into it. All right, so the first crazy shoe that I'm excited about is by On Running. I believe they're a Swiss company, but essentially they have a shoe called the Cloud Monster. This thing looked ridiculous, and actually one of the few companies that did a video on it, Road Trail Run, I'll leave a link in the description, took down the video. Based on some of the reactions, I think they're going back to the drawing board. This thing had massive stack height. It had their helium foam. It had multiple of those huge holes or cloud kind of physical cushion mounts that they have. And they try to say that it was as fast as it is cushioned. Yeah, you're not fooling anybody. You have that big of a cushioning setup. It's a max cushion shoe. Hopefully, whatever they come out with is going to be amazing. But as of right now, I think they've scrubbed the web. They've asked people to take down reviews. If you guys have any info, let me know. But OnCloud is trying to enter that max cushioning game, so I wish them the best. The next crazy shoe we have is from Puma. They had an awesome 2021 with their running lineup. I'm going to be doing a full review on their entire lineup, running and basketball, so stay tuned for that. Please click subscribe down below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up too. But Puma's not slowing down. They have their Fast R Nitro Elite, so I'm assuming fast racing, and this thing looks like it's a high heel, crazy carbon fiber plate, completely articulated heel and forefoot. It looks like the heel is going to be going with more of their regular foam versus their nitro foam is going to be in the forefoot. But either way, I definitely want to try it. It looks crazy enough that it could do some cool things. Potentially, they're saying a lot of runners, elite runners around the world are starting to use it. It is incredibly lightweight. The foam is lightweight, and Puma's not slowing down. They're not settling on what they've released already, so it's a good sign of things to come. All right, so we got some really solid performers. Just one shoe I'm excited about for each of these brands, even though they are coming out with other shoes. So one is by Craft. They do have their Pro Endurance coming out that's using an all-new PIBA based cushioning. So PIBA is essentially what they're using in Boost, what Saucony uses with their Power PB, and I actually love what Craft did already. I have two of their shoes. I'll have a review on those coming out as far as their racing setup and their regular shoe setup. So I'm excited to see how this feels with their new foam. Next is the Brooks 20, which looks to be a huge leapfrog over what they've done in the last 5 or 6 years. The Brooks Glycerin 16, 17, and 18 were essentially the same shoe. I was able to have the 16. I do have the 18 and still have it. It's a nice daily trainer. It's not really max cushion. The 19, they really kicked it up a notch, but Brooks just hit it out of the park with their Aurora BL. It was #1 on my top 5 cushion non-plate edition. I do have part 2 coming out, so please consider subscribing and take a look put the monitoring bell so you can see when that's coming out. But they're going to be using their same DNA Loft V3 version 3 in the Glycerin 20, which should feel awesome. It's not going to look as crazy as the Aurora BL did, so potentially they will have different colors, and they are coming with 2 different uppers, so this is something that you can enjoy that level of cushioning on an everyday shoe. That's also going to be obviously a max cushion trainer, so I'm actually really excited for that. And finally, for the one-hitters, we have Ultra. Ultra is actually a brand that I really enjoy. They only do zero drop shoes. They have a new Ego cushioning, and it's their Ego Max cushioning that's coming out on the Torin 6. Really excited for that. I do like their Ego cushion setup. I have a few shoes of them. I don't think I've done a review on there yet, so let me know if you guys like to hear on it. But I do like Ultra as a great complementing shoe to whatever shoe you're running in, because that zero drop is awesome as far as just getting a good stretch in your Achilles, training your calves a little bit better, and it's just a different experience than a regular running shoe. Now, just because they're foot shaped, they're not necessarily wide, so some of their shoes fit me great, some of them didn't, but Ultra in general, really enjoy the brand. I'm excited for that Torrent 6 coming out. All right, so another company that is coming out with a few pairs of shoes, but the only one I'm really excited for, maybe I shouldn't say, there's a couple, but Skechers is continuing to evolve. If you guys haven't taken a look at the Skechers brand, Skechers performance is totally different than the Skechers that we see from their regular casual and I don't want to say garbage shoes, but just their normal shoes. Their performance line is next level. You have got to try it. They're going to have one of their shoes is going to be in my top 5 most cushioned with a plate, and they're actually taking it up a notch. They're putting their plate design, which is kind of an H plate, really unique, in their Razor XS. So the Razor XS 2 is going to be adding a plate, adding 3 millimeters more cushion. This is something I'm really excited for. So it always leaves me wondering how much more cushion is their Max Road going to get, because the current Razor, whatever it is coming out, has, or the current Ride 9, I believe, has the same cushion setup as the Max Road 4. So Max Road 5 had to kick it up. The new Ride 10 coming out is having even more cushion. It's going to have the plate set up. So I'm excited for that Max Road 6. But either way, their whole lineup, from their Hyperburst cushioning to their plate setup, their Goodyear rubber, Skechers performance is on a roll. If you haven't tried any of their shoes, give them a try. All right, our final 4 brands are probably ones you're more familiar with, and we're going to start with the kind of 800-pound gorilla in the shoe world, and that's Nike. They're finally upgrading something that's worthwhile in the Zoom Fly line. So the Zoom Fly 5 is finally going with full, I believe it's Zoom X cushion, carbon fiber plate. It looks amazing. Now, the Zoom X, I believe, is going to be in a carrier, kind of like they did with the Vomero 16. So it's not going to be complete like Vaporfly style, but the way it looks, the completely different tooling, the fact that they're using carbon fiber. The one was a moderate hit with the foam they use. The 2 I thought would have been incredible. It was kind of a disappointment. A lot of people liked it. The 3 and the 4 were, I don't want to say garbage, but the 5, it looks like Nike's really bringing something that is going to be worthwhile trying. Nike also has your guys' favorite and a lot of running enthusiasts. The Turbo is coming back. They stopped with the Turbo 2. I actually did a video on some of the other alternatives you can get, but they're coming back with the Nike Turbo Nature, which I guess is going to be the Turbo 3. I don't care. They had a great recipe for the first and second one. Lightweight, responsive cushioning. Just had a great ride to it. I still have a few pairs of the Turbo 2. So hopefully it's as good as those were, and they were able to make the improvements necessary to keep up with what the rest of the market is doing. But you can't help but be excited for that. Next is my favorite brand for 2020. It's 2021 though, but that is Saucony with their killer Endorphin line, the Endorphin Speed, the Pro, and the Endorphin Shift. All 3 are phenomenal shoes. I felt like the version 2s were really moderate. Now I do have the Endorphin Speed 2, and I can say it feels way more comfortable. The Pro 2 felt exactly the same. Again, I haven't done reviews on those, but love the line. The Shift was always, it was okay to me. I liked it, but I'd rather wear some of my other higher performance shoes. And the first one we're going to talk about is going to be their Triumph. Now, the Saucony Triumph has been in my top 5 cushioning setups for the last 2 years, and the Triumph 20 coming out is no different. It has more cushion, it's lighter weight. I'm excited for that. It's phenomenal, and that's one of the reasons I don't really care about the Endorphin Shift. But they have the new Shift 3 that drop weight to only 9.26 ounces, so it's going to be lighter than the Triumph, I believe. And it's using a new Power Run lighter, bouncier setup EVA that they're going to be using. So maybe I should try the Shift 3. But obviously the big news is coming from the Pro and the Speed 3. The Pro and the Speed 3 use an all-new tooling, more cushion. They're not lighter weight. That's something to keep in mind. But the Pro is using a completely different upper, and the Speed is using a more, I guess, traditional upper. So it's not as light as what your race day version is going to be, but it still looks to be an awesome setup. I honestly can't wait to get all of them. Saucony has been on fire. Their cushioning is amazing. Obviously, some brands work with you more than others, whether it's the fit or the cushion, and Saucony has always just worked really well for me. Next was the fastest growing brand, along with On in 2020 or 2021, I believe, and that's HOKA. Just as more people got out to run and walk, especially through the pandemic, and HOKA, they did feel like they slowed down a little bit last year, but they're picking it back up. One of their best shoes of the year was their Mach 4, and they're coming out with their Supersonic Mach, which is going to be using a new supercritical EVA foam that is even bouncier. So they're not calling it the Mach 5. I think they're going to be selling it, concurrently, but obviously that's one I really want to try. If you guys haven't asked me, or you're wondering, if you want to try a shoe for running and you're just getting into it, the HOKA Mach 4 is about as good as it gets, being lightweight, well cushioned, neutral. It's something I think anybody can use for any purpose. Love that shoe. Supersonic looks to be superseding it as far as the cushion setup and the weights. I'm excited to see what that brings. Next is going to be the Carbon X3. Now the Carbon X1 was just the original Carbon X was a huge kind of departure and a big shoe for HOKA. The Carbon X2 used a totally different midsole and tooling. I actually really enjoyed both. They're not my go-tos just because they're not as soft or bouncy as some of the competition, but the Carbon X3 is looking to change that with their new supercritical EVA. So it's using a similar setup in the foam, but obviously a different implementation than the Supersonic. But either way, that's going to give you a full carbon fiber plate. It's not going to be as lightweight as something like their Rocket X, but it is something that's going to be more of their fast daily trainer, but for a lot of us can still definitely do a race day shoe. Finally, HOKA has a new Kawana. This is going to be, they're describing it as filling in the difference between the Clifton and the Bondi. And for me, that's kind of difficult. The Clifton was always softer and way lighter than the Bondi. And the Bondi always had a lot of cushion with a little bit of bounce, but was never quite as soft as you wanted. So I'm super interested to see what they do with the Kawana, since it's going to be in the middle. So it's going to be lightweight and a little bit more bouncy, or is it going to have that little firmness from the Bondi, but just lighter weight? And I'm really interested. It looks like a great looking shoe design-wise, and this is something all new for their plate. So I hope HOKA does well. And again, if you haven't tried HOKA, I know I've said it, 10 times in this show, but HOKA is definitely a brand that a lot of people link to just max cushion setups, and I think they gave themselves kind of the standard if you're looking for max cushion. I know when I do my max cushion comparisons, I always got to bring out the Bondi and just stack it up, because that's the OG of just max stack high cushion setups. And talking about a max stack shoe, we have one of the oldest shoe manufacturers that are just bringing the heat for 2022. That's New Balance. New Balance looks to be completely revamping their entire lineup, and I'm actually going to look at my notes here for you guys so you can see. First, they have the new Rebel version 3. If you haven't tried the Rebel line, incredible. Most magazines, YouTubers, every reviews mark the Rebel as one of their best shoes every year. The Rebel 1 was incredible. The Rebel version 2 was even more so. Now, as a bigger guy, I found the Rebel version 2 needing a little bit more cushion, and that's where the version 3 comes in. It looks like it's going to have 2 or 3 millimeters more cushion setup, a little bit wider base, so it's even more stable. It feels like New Balance is really listening to their consumer and actually making those fine tweaks. So that's going to be automatically a must-buy shoe and a go-to for a lot of runners. Next, a big shoe that was released with a lot of hype, but then actually not updated, was the TC, or the Fuel Cell TC. That was the training version of the RC. it never got an update because the RC Elite 1 and the RC Elite had a version 2. We're going to talk about the update coming out for the 3, but they're releasing an SC3 that's going to have something like 47 millimeters of heel stack fuel cell cushioning, carbon fiber, and it's going to be obviously a training partner to, again, the SC Elite. So this is now replacing the RC Elite series. The SC Elite looks can be completely lighter, totally re-engineered carbon fiber plate, huge kind of split design. They're calling it a energy arc as far as the engineering and the tooling, but both the SC3 and SC Elite are going to be the replacements for the TC and the RC, both of which have been phenomenal. If you haven't tried fuel cell cushioning, it is one of the softest, bounciest foams you're going to have. And honestly, for me, the RC Elite 2, which has the most fuel cell, actually feels the best. I just needed more cushioning as a big guy, and it's kind of funny when I see smaller guys using it and they just love this incredible amount of foam that is just incredibly soft. And the only negative on those, and hopefully New Balance improves it, I found all of the New Balance line for 2021 ran really narrow. So hopefully for 2022, they revamped their tooling. I was able to do a 12 wide in pretty much everything prior to 2021. I had to do a 12.5 and 13 wide on a lot of their shoes for this year. And again, they fit, but not quite like how I wanted them to. So the RC Elite version 2, as amazing as the cushion setup was, it just wasn't quite a fit I enjoyed for a wide footer, even though a lot of people found a great fit with it. So hopefully they revamp that and they take that into account going forward. And finally, something that none of us were expecting, but I think it's a happy surprise, the great New Balance 1400. This was one that was kind of a race day, faster pace setup. I have one of them. I forgot what it's called, the version 5 or whatever it is. They never updated it, and I still have the New York City colorway edition. Great shoe. They're replacing that with the Pacer SC, and this is going to be a fuel cell version of essentially what the 1400 is. So it's going to have a plate just like the 1400, and it's going to be a cheaper, lighter weight version. So if you're not looking for that max day cushion setup from the SC Elite and you want something maybe a little bit quicker than what the SC3 is going to bring, because that's going to be more training day, it's going to be so well-rounded between that, and then you still have your Rebel version 3, and they're probably still coming out with different versions of the Prism, which is usually going to be more of a stability version of their lineup. So New Balance, they're one of the OGs in the running space. Their fuel cell cushioning is something you definitely need to try if you want that really soft, bouncy setup. I can definitely see a lot of folks thinking it's too soft, so keep that in mind, and I totally understand. But I like what they're doing for 2022 as far as having a really diverse lineup with a lot of new shoes coming out. I think they look incredible. I think the cushion is awesome, and I think the way they're kind of spreading it out and not diluting fuel cell, but really segmenting it just right for each kind of running style, or each purpose. So shout out to New Balance. Definitely check them out for the new year. If you guys weren't counting, that was almost 20 shoes we went through. I appreciate you guys sticking around to the end. We will have some links in the description to maybe some of the models that are available now that I talked about. I'd love to hear your comments and questions. If you guys wanted to know any further information, I wanted to give a huge thanks and shout out to Road Trail Run. Check out their channel, as they always release and leak some of the greatest things. So really appreciate those guys. If you guys do want to see any reviews or any information on any of these shoes that are out currently and some of the ones coming out, I'm happy to help. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Happy holidays to you guys. This is Levi with Sneaker Gears, and I'll come at you later.